Well, good morning to you, and welcome to our Monday morning live show. It's the Doctor's Nutrition Show. I'm Jim Tabor, along with Doctors Jim and Janine Fox of Doctor's Nutrition on Callan Road in Gulfport. This is where we have folks call in and ask questions regarding the topic of the day, or if there's something else maybe been on your mind that you want to ask a question about, because this whole show is regarding how to live a healthier lifestyle and things that you can do to live a healthier lifestyle, even if you are dealing with some issues with your health, make it a better lifestyle. So I have run into people all the time that just love watching the Monday morning show.
We get a lot of comments also. We
Yeah.
get a lot of comments of people coming in and saying they really like the show and they like the information. So that's what we try to do. We try to give good information and things that people may not know.
There's I'm going to give him a plug here. A friend of mine who's a local caterer, his name's Calvin Coleman.
Okay.
And I did a wedding with him this past weekend, and he says, I get up every Monday morning at 9 o'clock to watch that show.
Oh, good.
fantastic.
Okay, good.
So way to
Good.
go, Calvin.
Appreciate that.
Yep.
Anyway, so our topic this week,
Well, our topic this week is kind of different.
Yeah.
It's about research into nutrition, and because every day it seems like somebody will come in our office and say, I talked to my doctor about this, my regular physician or primary care, and they say, well, there's just not enough research on the natural products to, you should really stay away from it because there's not any research.
And that's not true.
That's not true, and we're going to prove it to you today.
We're
Okay?
actually, we thought we even might, we'll see how everybody likes this show, but we might even start once a month doing a show on research. Because we'll show you today that the stuff that we're going to be talking about today has been come out in the last week. So we're not talking about stuff we're using for a year or two, and it took us, actually just the last week this has come out. There is constant research in natural medicine, constant. And it actually is coming from the medical centers. It is not coming from people that do nutrition. It is not coming from the companies that do nutrition. It is from the medical community that's actually doing it because they know it works. They may not be, the people out there might not be using it, but what they try to do a lot of times is find natural products that help with a problem, and then they try to synthetically make it so that then they can make a drug out of it. So most of
then
the
it's not,
research,
it's not natural anymore.
Well, a lot of times it never comes. They can't
To
make it.
fruition,
They
yeah.
can't do it because
Can't
when they
duplicate
actually
it.
make it
Exactly, you
synthetic,
can't duplicate certain things like
when
that.
they make it synthetic, it doesn't work anymore. And so why would they be doing research with natural products to find new ways of making drugs if it didn't work? So that's kind of what we want to put it out there and let people hear what's going on.
Well, more and more people are trying to eat more healthy.
Right.
Yeah, and that
They're
definitely makes a
trying to
difference.
live a healthier lifestyle.
Yes.
Right.
And if that includes finding supplements that are natural,
For certain
they're going to
problems.
exactly. They're going to turn to that more so than taking one of these hardcore drugs that you get for blood pressure, cholesterol. And y'all have some great stuff for that. I mean, the cholesterol right there, the cholesterol.
And right there, and that is a prime example of a natural compound, and it's actually called the red yeast rice. And the original red yeast rice compound had a compound in it called mevalostatin. That's where the statin drugs got their name, mevalostatin. Now they've duplicated that and with making synthetics. Now the original mevalostatin from the red yeast rice does a great job, and it really doesn't cause many side effects.
It has less side effects because you can use a much lower dose to
Right.
actually help the problem.
But the synthetics, as we all know, cause all kind of
Yep.
problems in a lot of people. They will control the cholesterol, but that's a prime example of just what we're
But
talking about.
initially,
Yeah.
most drugs were made from plants and natural producants. And a lot
Well, our
of-
ancestors, I mean, they had
Yeah.
problems.
That's all
That's what
they
they
had.
ate. They ate plants, or grew things, or they learned from the. I mean, that's where they had the. I don't know what you call them, the witch doctors.
Yeah.
From
Right.
from back then. Whenever they would come up and make the little herbs and all this stuff and take
Right.
this
Yep.
and to help them.
Yeah, the medicine man.
But now
Medicine
there
man,
is so
yeah.
much research coming out. It helps us out a lot because we get to see there's things that we look at and say, I didn't know that would do that. Because it's things you wouldn't have thought about for that specific, like NAC. Is that we were going to talk about that anyway, which we have used for years. NAC is a product that we have used for years. We've used it for COPD. It thins the mucus. It's used as a decongestant.
You'll say for respiratory problems, issues
It
like
does.
that.
Right.
We've used it for years for that. But tell them about the study that.
I mean, this is a study just came out the 20th, okay, so it's not like old yet, okay. But cancer researchers at the University of Salford, and they published this in Seminars on Oncology, which is a very prestigious journal just on oncology. And what they were doing was they found that the N-acetylcysteine, or NAC, actually blocks what we call a transporter that transports energy into the highly productive cells of cancer. and they found that, like in breast cancer patients. Now,
Right.
and there's a lot of, I'm sure a lot of folks out there that watch this either have or have had or know somebody who has breast cancer. And they found that it blocked that transporter up to 80%.
Wow.
And it was
Wow.
really, they said it even astonished them, the results that came out of this study.
Yeah, it really
And
astonished them.
so
They couldn't
really,
believe it.
NAC, it's known as an antioxidant, and we've known that for years. But they really didn't, we've never really seen it in research for cancer until
Just
now.
till that one, because we know
A week
it
ago.
Yeah,
a week ago.
exactly.
When they know that NAC, and we've used it for years,
Yeah.
when you get N-acetylcysteine in your diet, and you get very little in your diet, very little. But if you take it as a supplement, you're actually going to increase your glutathione. Now, your glutathione is the body's natural, most protectant antioxidant it
Right.
makes. So we've been using it for years for stuff like that. Now we find, it takes a big dose. I mean, they did state in there that
It's
it takes.
actually not that big of a dose. I mean, when we looked at the
they
dosage,
called it a high dose,
they called
but-
it a high dose. Actually, it's the dose that me and you have taken for years
I know.
because we take it every day ourselves just because it's so beneficial.
Yeah.
And NAC is very inexpensive.
It's
It's
cheap.
another beneficial
Yeah.
thing. And NAC, just to mention, a lot of people out there might like to know this. Another research that came out, and this is not in the last week, but in the last couple of years, is how much it protects the kidneys in kidney patients when you use dyes for CT scans or MRIs.
Like the gadolinium.
Yeah, if you're going to
Okay.
actually do any type of medical testing where they actually have to give you a contrast, they found that doing NAC beforehand protects the kidneys, which is why if you're out there, you always have to have your kidney function test before you can have that test done because they want to make sure your kidneys can handle it. Well, NAC protects the kidneys in that situation
Yeah.
too.
Wow.
So really, NAC has a lot of really good benefits. A lot of really good benefits.
And when you get published this is the same place, the seminars on oncology, that's the same place if you came out with a brand new drug and had a drug trial. I'm talking about a synthetic pharmaceutical. This is where it would be published in this kind of journal. So this is not published in some,
Right.
off the wall stuff. It's actually a very good journal.
All right, we're going to take a break. If you have a question about the research, pick up the phone, give us a call, 896-0713 or 800-349-0713. We'll be right back. And welcome back. It's our Monday morning live call-in show, the Doctor's Nutrition Show. We invite you to call in and ask questions regarding the topic of the day. We're actually talking about research, new research out on a lot of the natural products that they have at Doctor's Nutrition, and the fact that some doctors may say poo on natural products, but
Yeah.
but
We're just going to show
right
you that
there,
we have the research.
information's
right.
right
I mean,
there. We
yeah.
talked about NAC just
I
a few
think
minutes
that's
ago.
the big thing that we want to get across, because we hear this every day, where they'll come in and they say, "Well, my doctor told me that there's no research." Really? And so we'll, a lot of times we'll just print things out and hand it to the patient and say, "Here, go show them this research." Hate to, make them mad, but whatever. If it happens, it happens. But and like for everybody out there, I'm sure by now has heard about the benefits of cinnamon.
Yeah.
I mean, like he said, it's great on toast. But okay,
you don't want
which
it
really
on
is,
toast.
yeah,
okay?
French
Yeah.
toast, yeah.
Right,
but,
oh,
but
yeah.
on yams,
Oh, now that's a good thing. Yeah,
sweet potatoes,
Yeah.
that's good
just
for you.
boil them first, and make them. That gets a lot of the starch
gets a
out.
lot of the
so
starch out.
they're okay.
Mhm.
Oh,
Yeah.
but anyhow, there's a University of Michigan. Now, this is not some podunk. There's people that would call them podunk, I guess, if you're if you're Iowa State. But anyhow, I just had to throw that in. But needless to say, University of Michigan, their life science department, they did a really neat study on cinnamon. And they showed that cinnamon actually turns on our fat cells, and we've all got fat cells.
Right.
And it actually turns on those fat cells to make more energy or to
Right.
release that
to
energy
release
that's got
energy and
stored.
to actually burn fat.
Yeah.
And we've known for years that cinnamon actually helps with blood sugar control, and it works
Exactly.
on the same premise because, of course, if you help what they call insulin resistance and you actually help the metabolic syndrome, you're going to actually help with weight loss. And so
Exactly.
that's what they were talking about is metabolism. So this study showed how cinnamon can actually help metabolism and help weight loss. And we've known that for years because we have a lot of people that will start on it. We have a product called glucose support formula. Now we have cinnamon by itself, but we like the glucose support formula because it has some other factors in with it as well. And we always find that people we put on it do start losing weight. It helps jumpstart weight loss, but it does it with sugar control.
Right.
And this study, this is just another one that proves that cinnamon does actually help metabolism.
And what they showed, for a long time we thought, well, it's helping with the insulin resistance, which it does. But what they showed is it actually helps that fat cell to release those triglycerides, and that's what fat is stored triglycerides. And so it helps release that triglyceride and make more energy using those triglycerides, which is phenomenal because we don't need them all stored up anyhow. So,
No, like even when you look at genetic, part of why the body does that is it used to be where you did have to store it because you may not have anything available and you might not get to eat for a while and you might need to burn it later. Well, that's not the case today. I mean, I can't say everywhere because of course, but here most people have enough food, and so they don't go without eating. So therefore, those fat cells hold on. They hold on to everything, and that ain't a good thing.
That's true.
Yep.
So that's one of the biggest problems. We have a surplus of energy now, whereas our ancient ancestors didn't have.
Yeah.
You get up and, if you think about Cro-Magnon man and Neanderthal, they get up in the morning, what's for breakfast, baby? And she said, I don't know, what are you going to go kill?
Yeah, what you gonna catch?
So it's up to you, dummy. So, it's really kind of interesting now. Of course, if you get up and say, what's for breakfast? Well, I don't know, McDonald's, Hardee's, whatever, So you go to some sort of fast food, which you're getting a lot of surplus energy there. I mean, the biscuits and stuff, I have to say that taste good, but not good for you, so to speak. But needless to say, this is a really interesting study about another aspect of cinnamon that really hadn't been looked into yet. Okay, and the University of Michigan actually picked this up. Great stuff, really is.
Okay.
Phenomenal.
All right. Cinnamon. Keep
Cinnamon,
that in mind.
yeah.
So what next?
Well, now this was, let me see, this is Boston University. Okay, Boston U. Okay, so we're not talking about podunk schools, people.
And we're not just talking about foreign school. I mean,
No,
a
no.
lot of research does come out of Europe.
Yeah.
But there's a lot that's being done in the United States right now.
But this is about atherosclerosis. Now, most of us out there have heard that term, atherosclerosis. Hardening of the arteries, okay? That one. There's a compound that's naturally occurring if you consume enough omega-3s. It's called resolvin E1.
Take it every day.
Yeah.
Yep.
And
Sure
they
do.
show that particular compound actually blocks the process, or it keeps down inflammation, and it blocks the process of making that atherosclerotic plaque. Makes it more stable.
Makes
One
it
of the-
not break off.
One
Yeah.
of the problems that you have with atherosclerosis, or hardening of the arteries, you got a plaque. All right. Plaque by itself, I mean, yeah, it diminishes the blood flow, but the body can kind of compensate a little bit for that. What happens is, when that plaque gets unstable and a little chunk of it breaks off, now you got yourself a clot. And
Yeah.
that clot
And blockage.
and blockage. And it can either do something in the heart and block something there, or if it winds up in the brain, we got a
Stroke.
bad
Stroke.
headache.
So
Right.
strokes and heart attacks, I mean, both can be actually caused by this. But omega-3s are something, again, we mention that probably constantly on the show.
Yeah.
Omega-3s are talked about a lot. And there's no doubt that they're beneficial, and even the Cleveland Heart Institute has done a lot on omega-3s, and they even have the Omega Check test where we can see if you have enough omega-3 in your body.
Somebody called in with a question. Any research about this medicine used to treat cholesterol, 100% diatomaceous shell flour, compared to using a drug called atorvastatin?
No, atorvastatin.
Atorvastatin.
Okay.
I'm not a physician
All right,
for
here-
cholesterol.
Here's the thing about, you got two different mechanisms. If you take diatomaceous earth, which is basically microscopic skeletal remains of bugs millions of years old and so on, and this diatomaceous earth goes through the digestive tract. We can't absorb it, we can't digest it, we can't absorb it. But it picks up things. It's sort of, if you think about it, it's like a cup that's going through there, and things can get in that cup, and then you excrete it through the feces.
It's a binder.
It's a binder. That's
So
right.
I would say it's a binder. It's
So-
one of the things that you would call it.
The most that it can do, the best thing, and in most it can do, is to bind up the cholesterol that you will be consuming, so to speak, in the diet.
Right.
Now, that doesn't, very little of our cholesterol comes from our diet. Regardless of what everybody
Right.
kind of tells you, most of our cholesterol comes from our body making it because it's so important.
Yeah.
It's that important.
It's actually produced in the liver. And
Right.
so it's actually a genetic thing a lot of times because different people, their genetics make them produce, and sometimes people overproduce.
Right.
And there's no doubt that sugar ends up affecting the cholesterol because it increases triglycerides, that increases
Right.
the VLDLs, and the VLDLs increase the total cholesterol, and it's a never-ending cycle.
Cascade of
But the
events.
diatomaceous earth can lower it a little bit. And I'm not sure, without looking, how much research is actually done on it, because that was the actual question.
Yeah.
But I know that it is a binder. And they're,
so just
Yeah.
removing it, you'd have to equate that to something like taking your oatmeal, okay? It'll do dietary. It's all it's going to do is pick up bind a little
Yeah.
bit of stuff into diet. Your atorvastatin or any of the statin drugs, they work. You absorb it, it gets in. It shuts down the process in your liver that actually makes cholesterol.
Now, the natural product that's more equivalent to the medications that do it is the red rice yeast extract. And
Right.
our product is called Wlox, and it works really well at lowering the cholesterol.
Yeah, we've got tons of research
and it
on
does have tons of
Inside,
research.
yeah.
It has tons of research
Yeah.
on it. So that is something that we use, diatomaceous earth. It's not going to hurt you. So
No.
that's the good thing. And they actually find that it actually is a good anti-parasite, and it helps with things like that.
Now, long-term use, we don't subscribe to simply for this. It's a binder. It binds anything and everything it comes in contact
Yes.
with. So if you take this stuff long-term, yeah, you're probably going to be
You can bind some
binding
of your
it,
fat-soluble nutrients.
especially the fat solubles, right? So you're not going to get all the nutrients you need.
All right, when we come back, we are going to have this week's special. Plus, we answer a question about how much cinnamon is needed to control insulin. So stand by. We'll be right back. And welcome back to the show. Before we get to this week's special, we had someone call in and ask the question, how much cinnamon should be taken daily to help control insulin or fat cells?
It depends on how you're taking it. If you're taking raw cinnamon, and there's a whole lot of different compounds in cinnamon, some of which are not very good at high doses. They can be actually toxic. But if you're using raw cinnamon, most people are going to talk about a teaspoon or so.
At the most.
At the most.
Because of
2 or
those
3
toxic elements that you
Yeah.
don't want.
a couple times a day.
And
maybe.
there's some cinnamon that may have little to no active ingredient in it. And that's
There's the problem.
That's the problem with just taking raw cinnamon. Yes, you can do it, but anytime the studies are done and the research is done, they actually isolate the actual
Right.
chemicals in it that help, and they use that. Now,
Like in that research, it was cinnamaldehyde.
right?
Yeah.
Yes, and actually our GSF, we actually have a cinnamon extract,
Right.
which is the active ingredients, and it's 125 milligrams, and we do it 3 times a day. And we know that works pretty effectively. But some people,
yeah.
you can still eat cinnamon. You just don't
And
want to
you should.
overdo it. Don't go out and eat a half a bottle a day, because you can get some toxic elements from that.
That might be
You
kind
might get a big
Right.
teaspoonful of that, you might choke to death.
Well,
Yeah,
yeah, especially if you do it
exactly.
straight. Exactly.
Yeah, that's a
exactly.
mess up. So this week's special, let's go ahead and jump on that.
Oh, okay. This week's special, well, why not? The first 2 things, NAC or N-acetylcysteine. We talked about that in the cancer thing. And then, of course, that GSF is our compound that we put together. We've had this thing for a long
We've
time.
used this product for a long time.
Years, and it really works in helping control blood sugar.
Right. And at the
And-
same time, like I said, it has the cinnamon in it, which has been shown to actually help metabolism.
The metabolism, and it's going to help with weight loss even.
Yeah.
We
Okay.
never really thought about it as a weight loss product until
We
now.
have seen when we use it on people that they do start losing weight better when they do take products to actually help with the blood sugar.
Right.
Yes.
All right, 896-0713, 800-349-0713. Our phone lines are open. We are in our last segment for this show, and if you have a question, but we've been talking about research and
Right.
exactly, the research that's been done on a lot of the natural ingredients, natural
Natural compounds.
natural
Yeah.
compounds.
You know, if you think back, the guy, 5,000 years ago or so, Hippocrates or Hippocrates, he had nothing to do but use what, was here. And he got a lot of people well. He was known as a very good physician. So, that's everything's been provided for us, and it's just a matter of us figuring out what it is. And that's where the natural medicines, for years it was kind of tabooed because there wasn't any research, or wasn't a lot of research. You took vitamin E because somebody like Adele Davis said, oh, you need vitamin E. Now the research is overwhelming as to what we need, the
And
specific
why.
kind of that we need, and why and how and all that. So it's really interesting.
Yeah. So one of our other we got a couple of the research papers. We're probably not going to get 2 of them today.
yeah.
One's on vitamin D and one's on probiotics. Which one do you think we should do?
Let's do the D one because I think this
Okay,
one,
yeah, this one's kind of interesting.
Very interesting. Now, this was done at the University of Birmingham, which is in England, on the other side of the pond. And they did some really interesting research and took, I forgot how many thousand people, it was quite a few, and gave them vitamin D. And these are people that are known to have a high ANA and be susceptible to, actually developing rheumatoid arthritis. And they found that they gave the people the vitamin D, kept their vitamin D status at a very high level, they actually prevented the onset of
Right. Now, they do
rheumatoid
say
arthritis.
that once someone has rheumatoid arthritis, D does not just make it go away.
No.
They think the body becomes insensitive to vitamin D when you have the inflammatory responses. And so there's going to have to be more done. They do say that people with RA should take a higher dose than D than other people.
Right.
And we always watch levels, and we want us to keep them on the higher end of the level.
Right.
But they were showing keeping your vitamin D normal can actually prevent rheumatoid arthritis and maybe even other autoimmune diseases we don't know. This one was specific on rheumatoid arthritis.
Right, but
So
the-
to me,
yeah.
it's a good reason to watch your D, to keep it normal, and to keep from getting problems. Because
And-
once you get a problem, it is harder to do something with.
Let's clarify normal. The range typically, 30
Yeah.
to 100. All right, if you're at 31, they're going to tell you you're fine. You're not. Typically speaking, all the research otherwise, which goes
Yeah.
back, say, 10 or so years, shows that we need to be somewhere between about 50 to 75 nanograms
Right.
per liter. Okay, so you got to keep it on the higher normal to be normal. Okay.
Okay. Somebody called in, wanted to know what's good to boost testosterone.
We got something really good for that. It's called AndroBuild.
Yeah.
And what it does is it actually triggers your own body to produce testosterone. And your own body's is always going to be better than an external source.
Right.
And we actually have many, many men that we do before and after. So there's no doubt it does actually help.
Right.
So come by and we'll show you, but it's like 4 different ingredients in it, but we do use that a lot. It's called AndroBuild.
Right.
All right.
Yep.
There's your
Works,
question.
works very well.
896-0713, 800-349-0713. Our phone lines are open to you for just a couple of more minutes. We've been talking about some of the different research.
Yeah, one of the other ones that Janine just mentioned, the
Mentioned
gut
probiotics.
microbes. Now this is really interesting because we talk about probiotics every week.
All the
Every
time.
week, yes.
This came out of MIT. That little second-rate school.
Yeah.
Up anyhow, MIT did some really neat work on high blood pressure because they've got some pretty good research going on high blood pressure up there. Anyhow, they got a huge hypertension clinic. And what they found was, they always talk about, the high sodium diet, the high sodium diet, high sodium diet. They found that one of the problems in a high sodium diet, and a lot of fast food does contain a lot of sodium, and they mentioned that in the research, but what they found was that you're looking at the stool, looking at that microbiome, in other words, your probiotics, actually the lactobacillus goes down. That
Actually,
family.
It decreases part of your probiotics.
And they found that if we load you up with lactobacilli, the various kinds, tends to offset the problem
Right.
that we have with
They even put people on a high salt diet
Yeah.
and then gave them the probiotics before the high salt diet, and their blood pressure did not go up. And their probiotics did not fall from the salt. Now, again, in the research, and we agree with the same thing, does not mean to go out and have a high salt diet and just take more probiotics.
Actually, the researchers said that.
They actually said that in the research, and we agree.
I agree. Yeah.
So it's not a reason just to go out and eat as much salt as you can and just take more probiotics, but it does show that if you have hypertension and you're sensitive to salt, maybe a probiotic would be beneficial to you. And you want all the different strands of lactobacillus in it, though. That's a
And there's a
specific
ton
one
of
they
those.
talked about. We have two, our Flora 50B and our Innate Flora 5014 are both ones that are really high in those strains.
Yeah. And, we talk about probiotics all
Yeah.
the time, and I think people think, oh, yeah, well, here's just a little bit of icing on the cake,
There
so to
is
speak.
so much research on it. I would say that's probably the biggest thing coming out that we see in medicine right now is research on probiotics of all kinds.
Microbiome of all
Whether
kinds,
it be
yeah.
for brain function, whether it be for weight loss, whether
Yeah.
it be for high blood pressure, whether it be
Right.
for controlling underlying pathogens. Who knows?
And of course,
They
you're always
keep
talking
throwing-
about processed foods and everything. Pick up a pack
Yes.
of, a TV dinner.
Yeah.
Pick up one. Look at the amount of sodium in one of those TV dinners. Oh, it'll scare you.
Well, when you take food that normally doesn't-
500 to 750 milligrams.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a small one. That's a small dose. When you look at what they do with processed food, all right, we take food that's usually tastes pretty good, but you start processing it and tearing it apart and doing all kind of crazy stuff with it, you have to load it up with sugar and salt to make it taste good.
All right, we got to run real quick. We'll be back next week for Open Line Monday. Have a great week.